What is up, everybody? It is Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning The Dr. Vibe Show. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, and The Dr. Vibe Show is the place for epic conversations. And I'm also president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. And just happy to be here as always. And as I was mentioning to my friend before we went on live, for those who didn't know, there is an app called Snapchat. And it's a very popular app for those people called Millennials. And they went, the company that owns Snapchat, Snap, I guess it's called, on the New York Stock Exchange, it's Snap. They did an IPO today, which is initial public offering. For those who don't know, that's when a company offers shares to the public to buy in the company so the company can raise capital. Well, we planned this conversation long before that, but tonight we have Quianna Rodriguez back again. And we're going to be talking about the workplace and millennials. But there's been some changes in Quianna's life since the last time we chatted with her. She was doing a whole pile of things, and now she's just doing one thing. So her sole focus these days, other than her wonderful kids, is Happy Work Week. So let's welcome back Quianna Rodriguez. How are you this evening?
I am wonderful. I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
I am blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles and a solution for someone's problem. Very happy to have you back on the conversation as always. Can you give a little bit of background about yourself and some of the recent events in your life too?
Yeah. I just want to just initially thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy having conversations with you. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun tonight, especially since we're speaking about millennials.
Thank you so much.
Right. Um, so recently, yes. Recently, I was just so blessed enough to take that leap of faith, and I was able to leave my full-time job, and now I am full-time in my business. And it was such an important decision for me because I know that this is my gift, is my passion, and that this is what I was brought to this earth to do. And so Happy Work Week means so much to me, and it means so much for me to be able to help people in their career. So many people are kind of in a wonky place. They're unhappy. They're unsure of what career field they want to be in. They might have gotten a degree and they're not using it. So there's so many different situations out there, especially with millennials. Millennials are the individuals that are getting educated and kind of stuck out there in the wind. So I am so excited to be able to go full time in Happy Work Week. Yes.
Well, congratulations on that. Let me ask before we get into the meat of our conversation, how long were you planning this leap of faith?
3 years. 3 years. As a mother of two, it's very important that I have to take extreme calculated risks. You know, when you're by yourself, it's a little easier. When I was younger, before I had got married, before I had any children, it was easier for me to jump out there and go for it. Now, I never lost that spirit. However, when you're taking care of children and you have these beings that you're responsible for, you have to have extreme calculated risks. And so 3 years, I was planning, organizing, figuring out exactly how I wanted to do it. So 3 years.
and what was the feeling like, or do you remember the moment when you said, this is it? What was that moment like when you finally said, this is my sole focus career-wise?
Well, it was really through prayer and meditation. I had to listen to my spirit. I had to listen to what God was saying, and it was very scary. because, when you make such a big leap and a big change, it's almost like you have to get it right. There's no other option. You have to get it right. But God said, it's okay. It's time. It is time to walk in your purpose. And I'm so grateful for that.
Well, people are probably going to ask, well, what qualifies Quianna to talk about millennials in the workplace? So what I want you to do is you can give a little background of your experience in regards to communicating with or working with millennials in the workplace, and then we can get in some hardcore conversation about that specific topic.
All right. Well, interesting enough, I thought that I was like a Gen X, but because of my birth date, I tease all the time, I am the AARP of millennials. So I am 35. I am on the edge of a millennial. So I am a millennial myself. So I have working with some of the younger population, the millennials. Also, I teach at a broadcasting school, which the bulk of them are millennials. We do have some that are a little bit older. However, most of them are millennials. And I've been teaching there for 4 years. Been in the military. Just growing up with my generation and the generation prior to me, in all my different positions, from corporate to military, schools. It's been a lot of experience with millennials.
Well, you know what? You've got the millennial energy.
Yes.
Absolutely. Good stuff. So what are you noticing about millennials today? And I'm also going to bring into our conversation 1 or 2 articles that I read and want to get your thought process on that. So what's that? Okay. All right. We'll stop that for a second. And so what are you seeing about today's millennials that may be different from even a few years ago?
I really feel like millennials are changing the workplace in such a dynamic way. And what I mean by that is, the Gen X and the baby boomers, you didn't really hear about work culture, right? You didn't hear about engagement. And, those are just terms, but you didn't really hear about such a huge problem with employees not being engaged. Millennials, they focus on how it makes them feel, and it's changing the workplace in such a dynamic way that companies, they can't ignore it, because the millennials are becoming the largest populated employed, and they have to listen to millennials as everything progressed. Baby boomers, they're older, and the Gen X, they're still there. However, the millennials are the individuals that are really changing the dynamics of the workplace.
And how are companies, in your opinion, reacting to this dynamic change?
That, I think, not very well. Not very, because, change, I think that companies are, and that's, I'll be honest, I think companies are tapping into certain aspects, but they're not really investing in the whole dynamic. So what I mean by that, they might have team building exercises for their employees. They might have, learning modules for them. They might have workshops, but they're not looking at all aspects. They might put in place certain things, but how are they finding out the exact problem when it comes to engagement? Are they really honing into the management? What does the management really need? Are they listening to the employees? So there's so much to it, instead of just putting in place, oh, look at this module, we're helping the managers get educated on how to deal with employees, or, oh, we're going to do a 3-hour workshop and then that's it. This training is going to help. So I think that it's so important for a company. I mean, it's such, like I said, it's so new. And even, I'm talking about even the last couple of years is still new. You know what I mean? Learning exactly how to go about addressing this issue.
Okay. Let me ask, and I'm going to put out some statements about millennials, and I'd like to get your feedback, if possible, on that. So here's a statement that many people make, that millennials' career goals are different than those of older generations. What do you think about that?
Mm, I don't necessarily think that their career goals are different. I think the way they go about accomplishing their goals are different. I think that, for the most part, millennials, they want to build their career. They just don't expect to climb a corporate ladder. They don't expect to wait 10 years to finally get to that executive position. They don't expect to be in a company even for 10 years. If they see an opportunity that will benefit their career growth, they will go to another company. So I think that the older population, they focused on, hey, I'm with this company, I'm going to grow, I'm going to progress, I'll stay here 10 years. In 10 years, XYZ will happen. In 15 years, I will be here. Well, millennials look, okay, if I go here, I'll get to this level. If I go here, and so they're not afraid to venture out. And because in previous years, hopping around jobs, it seemed like that was a big taboo. If your resume if you saw on your resume that you were at 5 different companies, it's like a red flag. What's going on? Why aren't you staying in one position? That's the older population. That's kind of like the mentality of the older population. However, the millennials, they're not afraid of that. They're not afraid of showing, hey, I have these different positions, but if you look at my different positions, I progressed. I went here to this company and now I'm advancing in this. So they're not afraid of portraying that they are job hopping.
Another myth, if yes or no to it, millennials, unlike their older colleagues, can't make a decision without first inviting everyone to weigh in.
Oh my gosh. I don't think that's necessarily true either. I think millennials, especially because of the technology, they're able to make faster decisions than the older generation. Like I said, they're kind of fearless in a way, because of what they were handed. They don't understand. Okay, how can I put that? How we grew up and we had pagers, or some of us didn't have pagers, so they're growing up in a whole different time frame where they have access to answers. They have access to things that we didn't necessarily have quick access to. So I don't think that that is an issue for millennials. I think that they're able to make decisions just fine without asking a bunch of individuals.
No problem. You had mentioned before about millennials jumping around from job to job to job. How important is job satisfaction to millennials compared to baby boomers, Gen Xers, in your opinion?
Wow, it is huge. It's huge. I would say millennials, that, like I said, they focus on growth, they focus on retirement and the work culture. It's extremely important for them to be able to be in a place that they're happy with, that they can excel. They like to be praised. That that feeling that they're achieving something. So definitely, it's so important to millennials for them to be in an environment where they're thriving and they're satisfied. If not, I mean, that's another big cause of them going from place to place to place. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're doing fantastic. You're just like firing the answers back, like you're on point. Um, Here's another myth: millennials are digital addicts who want to do and share everything online without regard for personal or professional boundaries.
Mm. Okay, so you know, I'm not trying to like be so biased. I just feel that it's a whole nother era, and I had to actually come to terms with this. Um, if you remember our parents, right, when we were growing up, and oh, you guys don't have an appreciation for XYZ, or you guys can't appreciate just what are some of the things I can't even think about what my mom would say when I was growing up. Uh, what I'm trying to get at is our parents they didn't adapt to the era that we were growing up, the technology that we were experiencing, the things that we were doing. And so millennials, they grew up in technology. This is all they know. This is what they've grown into. So where us, as like I said, I'm a little older. I don't have to be on Facebook. I don't have to tweet out what I ate. I don't have to share all that information because I grew up on an era where I picked up the phone and called somebody. I picked up the phone, or I went next door to my neighbor's house, and we had a whole different communication system. So I cannot fault or feel like that millennials are wrong the way they communicate. This is just a whole nother era. However, I will say that there are some communication issues with millennials. Like, for example, when I hear managers say that a millennial, or they text them and quit. That's so unprofessional. You do not call or text your manager and say, "Hey, I'm going to another place." That's so unprofessional. Or even my students, I have some issues as far as how they communicate in email. Now, so like I said, there's some, I cannot fault the way they communicate. However, still staying professional is so important. It just remaining professional is so important. And I think that is issue certain millennials have, because we learn to shorten everything. I know I'm going a little detailed. I apologize. So we've learned to shorten everything, and we've the LOLs, and you cannot write that in an email. You can't do it. It's unprofessional.
So do millennials, when they get into situations like that where they say, well, I can't really do that because that's not a business culture, are they open to adapt, or are they saying, you know what, I'm going to do it my way? And we're making generalized statements here. It's not for every millennial. But
right.
Are you seeing, how are they, I guess a two-way question, how are millennials reacting to the traditional workplace? Are they pushing back? Are they saying, no, I'm going to do it my way? And I guess a little bit deeper, how is the traditional workplace trying to make an investment in millennials to keep them?
That's a good question. I would say that millennials, they put up a little resistance. I think that's the reason why there's so much change when it comes to the workplace, why companies are forced to invest in workshops and engagement and different things like that. However, I think that it's a tough, because like you said, it will be a generalization, and I can't stand making a generalization. I think that in the right situation, that a millennial is willing to compromise on certain aspects. But for the most part, they know what they want, and there is a little resistance to it. I'm trying to remember the second part of your question.
Just that, are companies more and more getting it? Are they? Because I know you mentioned earlier they're not doing a great job, but are you at least seeing some more and more companies beginning to understand and try to work with millennials because it is a different culture?
Oh, absolutely. I think that companies, they recognize the value in millennials. Um, Companies are changing as well because of the technology. So, and millennials are the individuals that's creating the technology, along with, of course, some of the Gen X and even some of the baby boomers. Can we add them in there? We can't forget them, right?
We can't leave them out. No way.
So I definitely think that companies are more aware because they have no choice. If they want to grow, they want to, because you cannot have an employee sitting on Facebook all day and think that your business is going somewhere. You cannot have your employee surfing the internet all day and think that you're going to make money. It just doesn't happen. So if you have a company where your employees are not really working, um, they don't even recognize or take value in their position. That's a problem. They don't understand what their mission is or how important their position is. That's a problem. Millennials need to know, why am I important? Why am I here? How am I valuable to you? They need to know that.
Okay. I'm gonna throw out some tips, and whether you agree or not agree with them in regards to millennials, and expand on them. So, how important is it in the workplace that millennials have structure?
Oh, it is very important. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm just thinking about one of my clients, very structured. She was a millennial, and she particularly, and along with my students, I just noticed that without structure, it's kind of like they're a little all over the place. It's a little all over the place, and it helps them focus. You think about it, um, it's an era of distraction, you know? It's an era of distraction. So having that structure is very important, to kind of keep focus, keep everything straight.
Excellent. Here's another one. How important for millennials is leadership and guidance in the workplace?
Oh, leadership is so important, and leading the right way, that can make or break a company. Leadership, I actually wrote an article that I didn't even know. I think it was like about $3 billion is left on the table because of management not working effectively with their employees. And even if, I have to look at the numbers from my blog, but even if it was a billion, let's say it was a billion, do you realize how tremendous that would be? Just bringing that money right back into, um, just circulating that money, just $1 billion. So leadership is extremely important when it comes to driving the force of a team, driving the force of the feel of a workplace. A supervisor can really bring a team up or bring a team down. How effectively do they communicate change? Because we all know that change is going to happen, but not everybody deals with change in the workplace the same way. And how a leader deals with just something that simple, can really make a difference. So leadership is so important. It really, actually, that's a serious issue too.
And I just want to shout out, I see we have some guests watching the conversation. LL Marketing Consultants has a question. I'll get to it in just a moment. But also one of the true friends of the Dr. Vibe Show, Claude Diamond, is on. And Claude is a master sales trainer. So either one, if you'd like to share any comments or questions, do put them in the live chat. LL Marketing Consultant says, would you say that millennials are growing up too fast?
Once again, I wouldn't say that they're growing up too fast. They're just growing up in the era that is today. Technology, I don't think anyone could anticipate how quickly technology would expand and how fast it would grow. I remember when I was growing up, we had just the little Apple computer. And we had Oregon Trail. Even think about how the cell phone has evolved from or even the cell phone plans when you had regions, and if you went outside this region, you were roaming, and things just rapidly changed so quickly, and I think that they're just growing up in an era that things are happening quick. I know that so often we say millennials, they want things quick. They want things quick. It's true. However, this era is so fast. You think about some of the technology, the newest app. You just spoke about Snapchat, right? There's an app for everything, and then there's a platform for everything, and then tomorrow there's something new. And then tomorrow, like we had Periscope, then you have Facebook Live, then you had, so it's just always growing and expanding. How do you keep up with that? How do you keep up with the era like that and growing up? But we know, because what we grew up in, it's I don't think we've experienced the growth that a millennial has really experienced. What do you think?
I think that one of the things that I find fascinating is the amount of knowledge that we all have to consume is growing exponentially daily, but the average capacity of the human brain is staying the same.
Right.
So that there's more and more potential of disconnect among all age groups.
Right.
So if an older age group has to consume so much more information and is probably less prepared because of the environment, the way they were raised, the technology, they're just having a challenge just to grasp it on their end. Trying to relate it to a millennial generation, that's like at times maybe a round peg into a square hole.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So fully understand where you're coming from. Here's another a tip to see where you stand on. Encourage millennials' self-assuredness, can-do attitude, and positive self-image.
I completely agree. I think they like to hear how they're doing. They like to hear, how they're progressing. They need that feedback. Otherwise, if there's silence, they're kind of unsure, and they feel, they don't feel like they're being valued. But I think as a whole, that's kind of consistent with a lot of people, right? If you're in a position and you're not receiving any positive feedback at all, and your supervisor constantly just comes to you with negativity, you're going to be kind of, okay, what am I doing wrong? What can I do that would get some positive feedback? That kind of, and having that negativity constantly fed to you, that will kind of sometimes you'll question your abilities. So definitely millennials, they like to be praised. They like to get that positive feedback, and it helps drive them. It pushes them.
Excellent. And again, I'd like to thank Claude and LL Marketing Consultants. They have more comments here. Claude says he loves his millennial clients. They are much more respectful of success in elders/boomers than the boomers generation. Do you have any response to that?
That's interesting. I like that feedback, because once again, it goes to the question that you were saying, do you feel that millennials are less like, or do you feel that they don't take their job seriously, or they're not so much aware of, what it takes to succeed in the workplace? I think that they know what they want. And because they know what they want, they're willing to go after it. They're not afraid to take risks. And I mean, they're really talented individuals. So I like that.
Okay. And then another follow-up comments by LL Marketing Consultants. They say, so this is the new way of learning. And are we forgetting the basics, like you said, Mama used to say? So are we forgetting basics?
Sometimes. In certain situations, I would say so. I would really say so. As I said, just the professionalism. It's okay to be able to grow up communicating in so many different ways. You don't have to just talk on the phone. You can send an email. However, I think that is so important to have a level of professionalism with yourself, even through communication, but even with your presence, how you're dressing and how you're carrying yourself, even how you're speaking to your counterparts, how you're speaking to your managers. I think that some millennials, they're having a hard time because their communication, they grew up communicating through email, through text. They don't have to really get on the phone or have that face-to-face contact. That there's some communication issues, or how to effectively. I'll say it like this: because you have millennials communicating this way, you have Gen X communicating. They learned how to communicate this way, and then you had the baby boomers. We all communicate different. So it's important for all three generations to learn the communication styles of each generation, so that you can learn how to come together, still work together, and effectively communicate in the workplace, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's excellent. That cross-cultural learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I fully encourage that, investing in your employees at all levels, and not monetarily, but your time, which brings me on to the next tip in regards to how much are the companies listening to their millennials. Do you hear a lot of millennials say to you that companies aren't listening to me? I don't feel appreciated, and not necessarily monetary, but they're just not even listening to me.
Yes, I feel that. I mean, and I said it goes by case, because there's certain companies that are really on top of it, and then there are some that have some work to do. But for the most part, millennials, they don't feel like they're heard. They feel like they're they're misunderstood in a way, because we are very set in our ways and how. And like I said, I can't believe I'm a millennial. I feel like I'm Gen X. I feel like a baby boomer. I feel a little older.
I received that.
But I just think that they feel like, since we're so stuck in our ways on how we remember, this is how it always was. This is how this is how we do things around here, and it's not really open to change, And millennials feel like, hey, listen, this could be a way that we can do things faster, and be more efficient, more effective. Can we try this? Or they'll give suggestions, and they don't feel like they're heard sometimes.
Claude Diamond has another, always solid with the comments. He says, the millennials are the true beginning of Dr. King's dream. They are colorblind and non-judgmental.
That's a very good statement. Yes. And I love that statement, in the fact that I think we are finally understanding millennials. We're not looking at it as if they're lazy, they don't want to work. I mean, I've heard those type of comments about millennials, and that's not it at all. It's just that they value the their work, and they want to be valued. They won't settle. That is the thing. They don't want to settle. And I have to say that, and the biggest thing is that the way that we were taught, to go to school, get a job, get married, have the picket fence and dog, they don't go by that drum, okay? They like to beat at a different tune, and they're okay with that. And I'm so excited that millennials are finally being understood in a way that it is not that they're lazy. It's not that they don't care. It's just a whole different way of doing things. It's a whole nother way of doing things.
Good stuff. We're getting great interaction here. I also want to shout out one of the regulars on my Sunday night live audio conversation called Do You Know What Time It Is? I got Dr. Lawrence Rashid, who is watching the program and is really enjoying the conversation. No, you're getting rapid fire questions. This is really good tonight. This is good.
Awesome.
Yeah. Here's another question from. I'll get to Dr. Rashid's question in a moment, but LL marketing consultants say, do you think the new millennials have the correct CEO attitudes on social media? But maybe they're asking, do you feel that they have the correct CEO attitudes for the future?
Okay, that one I have to be like straight honest with and say no. No. I'm saying no as far as the fact that I have to explain to some of my students, hey, be careful what you put on social media. An employer is going to Google you. That I have, the fact that I have to explain that, the fact that I have to reiterate that, the fact that it's almost like millennials, I have to say that bothers me. It does bother me on what we post, how lax millennials are when it comes to posting everything online. I mean, everything. I mean, their relationships. And I mean, it goes back to saying this is how they communicate. However, is it professional? Where are you going? And I mean, it's not all millennials. But when we talk about the individuals that want to excel, they're very mindful of that. They're aware of what they post, how they conduct themselves on social media, and they're fine. So, yeah, but there's some that are just like, oh my goodness, yikes.
No problem. Now here's a question from Dr. Lawrence Rashid. He's asking, in your opinion, do millennials lack the soft skills in order to really develop in the world, in the work world?
In the work world, I would say no. I think that once again, it's just a different way of doing things. They see things differently. They've experienced life differently. So where we're used to doing things one way, they can see it and completely change the way it's done. So where I know I had a conversation with some millennials and some baby boomers, and we were talking about how once again that millennials are lazy, and the millennial was like, well, you kind of helped us by giving us this technology, so if we find a quicker, faster way of doing things, why is that wrong? Why is it wrong?
All right. I didn't know you were going to get, well, I was speaking that you were going to get a lot of interaction tonight, and you are. And here's a, now I know a little bit about this man, but maybe do you know the name Gary Vaynerchuk?
I think so, yes. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Do you know a little bit about what he talks about millennials? If you don't, we can move on to another conversation topic.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
No problem. Well, LL Marketing Consultant is asking, do you think this could be a danger to the economic growth status for businesses? So do you feel that business growth is suffering because of the environment for millennials in the marketplace?
I think that it's a part of the issue. I say this all the time, that companies any longer they lack longevity. Where you had companies back in the day that were around for 50, 60, 70 years, 100 years. Now you have companies that, hey, we're around for 5 years, we're going to get bought out. Okay, it's an investment. And so that it goes both ways, and that is part of the problem why millennials aren't feeling valued, because they might be working for some of these companies. I just know that, for example, here in Charlotte, the banking industry, and we all know about the banking industry, right? And how a bank can be in existence, and then they change their name, they get bought out, they switch, and then what happens with these individuals? So I think that the fact the millennial population is just a portion of what is happening and what's hurting the bottom line for companies. I mean, there's a lot of issues that's causing the bloodshed, the bleeding. It's a big portion of it, though, I think, but it's still some other factors.
Excellent. Someone else has joined the conversation. Want to give them a shout out, and I think you would remember Tachi?
I do. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
She's so sweet.
Yeah, she just joined the conversation, and she actually is an educator professor. So, Tachi, if you have any comments or in regards to millennials, certainly would appreciate your thoughts that you'd like to share. LL Marketing Consultants is strong, coming with more comments, saying they heard companies can't find people with the correct skills sets is a millennial problem.
That the millennials, they don't have the correct skill set?
Yes.
Or
and I look at it two ways. It could be that, or maybe they're not adapting to the millennials. So it could be a two-way thing, could it not?
I think it really can. That's a really tough one, because what is the overall mission? What are they trying to achieve? When you come about experience, because I hear the older population say, I have 20 years of experience, I'm very qualified, but I can't find a job. Then they have the experience, they know how to do it. However, are they going to get hired at a company that is really complaining about the lack of experience? They want the younger generation, yet are they willing to adapt to the demands of the younger generation?
I know time is running down fast, so I'm going to try to squeeze in one or two more conversation topics here. Millennial employees are multitaskers on a scale you've never seen before.
Ooh, that's a. I mean, you hear all the time. Is anyone able to really multitask? They had plenty of studies that show that humans in general are unable to really multitask. Um, I, I mean, I think that they're used to handling multiple things because, you go from texting and, it's a whole, you're dealing with a little bit more. However, I think that is a kind of a generalization, that could go across the board. Multitasking, even they said that women can multitask better than men. So I don't think that is specific to a generation.
Here's another one that I did some research on that I hadn't heard a lot, but capitalizing on the millennials' affinity for networking, and especially in the case how they can network with people all around the world digitally.
hmm And that is the opportunities that they have that we didn't necessarily have because of the technology that's available. And even what companies are using, they're able to expand, or millennials are able to work from home because of technology, where most of us growing up, we had to go into the office, we had to be there. And with the technology, being able to connect with people over in England or Canada, right? um, Over in Australia, that capability to network has really changed a lot. And the way companies, that's what I'm saying, the way companies do business is so different now. And because of the capabilities that we have. And so millennials, like going back to millennials, is just a small portion, of that. So, yeah, I think that it also gives opportunity for growth because they do have access to so many different individuals and abilities to network.
And I think and you can answer this much better than I because you're the expert here, but the importance of the life work balance workplace for a millennial.
How important is that?
Yes.
Oh, it's very important. Um, Man, I think a millennial still, they want to live life. They don't want to be tied to, I mean, if you think about, and I even thought about this even when I started working out of the military, do I really want to do this for 60 years or 50, 60 years? What am I going to do? How am I going to live? They still want to enjoy life. They don't want their work to dictate so much of their life. They understand they have to work, they have to grow and progress in their career. However, it's important for them to be able to live, to travel, or whatever their interest is. To be able to do that on a regular basis.
And we're coming down to the end of the conversation. And one thing I just want to say, Tachi logged into the conversation. She said she was driving and listening. I don't want you to be driving and listening, Tachi. Your life is more important than any Dr. Vibe show conversation. So keep your eyes on the road and arrive safe. Last conversation piece in regards to this with the millennials, providing a fun, employee-centered workplace.
I have to agree with that. I think that I know personally, I do not want to go into a stuffy office where it's just work, 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 work. You become robotic. And if you're not having fun, if you're not, because everything is not going to be peachy in the workplace, you're going to run into some challenges. And if you're as a team, you haven't been able to build that rapport and have the ability to engage and come together and have fun while you are working, there can be some issues, some disconnects there. And that's a big part of engagement, enjoying what you are doing. and laughter. I'm huge when it comes to laughter. You know how
You're kidding. You don't you don't say. Thank thank you for that revealing moment, Quianna. I should tweet that out. Quianna, happy work week, loves to laugh. News flash. And that's not fake news.
It's actually a huge part of having a happy work week. It really is. Laughter and joy, it brings so much to a workplace. If a lot of people just walked into the office with a smile and just left the cares and the worries from their home and came in with a smile, with some excitement, ready to go, fired up, even if the day before was just not what they thought it would be, and there were some issues within the workplace, but if they came in every single morning prepared to be excited, ready to go, it will change the energy of the workplace tremendously. Just that small, tiny thing. Just come in with an energetic smile. Don't go in like, oh my gosh, if she talks to me today, I'm going to flip. Oh my gosh, if he goes and he does that one more time, I'm going to go insane. You go in with that energy, guess what? That's what you're going to receive.
Excellent. I think those are good words to end our conversation. I just want to get one little thing, maybe a call to action for you in regards to millennials in the workplace. What is your message to companies? What is your message for older people in this subject? And then what's your message to the millennials? So you can start with any one of them first and just finish off.
I'll start with companies. I think that it's very important for you to really find out specifically in your workplace, in your company, what the issue is. Is it leadership? Is it communication? What is it that's causing that disengagement? What is it? And instead of just putting in place one thing and thinking that it's going to change the whole dynamics, and sit back and listen to what your people are saying. It's the people that run the business, and they'll tell you, they'll be honest, they'll be open. You'll be able to determine what's fluff, what somebody is just hurt about, compared to what is really causing a big issue, so that you can fix it and really move forward in growing the business. When it comes to the older generation, don't be intimidated by this technology. Own your experience. Do not feel like you have to go out and get a master's degree or a bachelor's degree to try to keep up with these millennials. You, my friend, you have experience unlike any other. You bring to the table so much wisdom, and you know about it when it first started. You understand the beginning. Let's talk about IT, the coding. You know how it begun all the way to where coding is now. So do not doubt yourself, and do not compare yourself to these generations that's below you. Own your experience and do well. You are wonderful. The older populations, they're wonderful. You do not have to feel like that you have to compete in such a way that you're going to be equal. You are older. You're wiser. You have certain strategies that can make you competitive in the market. All right, and the millennials, I would say, keep on keeping on. You are changing things in a good way. You're allowing people to learn how to live again. You are helping people recognize what's really important. You're helping people shake up the way things used to be, and shake up how we really should go about in our career, how we should uh, our career path and which way to go. You're shaking things up, and I love it because not everyone has the same path. You're opening up opportunities to dream, to think, and to grow, and to really live out your purpose in a way that best suits you, that will best suit everybody in the world, to best suit just people around you. So I love how passionate millennials are about getting out there and living a dream. Yes.
That was Happy Work Week fired up. I'm loving that. That's good stuff. We are at the end of our conversation, and I'd like to say, first of all, a huge thanks for Quianna to take time out of her positive, productive schedule. She's doing her Happy Work Week. She's raising two wonderful kids, and she's just empowering, enlightening, education, and entertaining people. So we have to thank her on that. I'd like to give shout outs to the people who helped make this conversation epic. Claude Diamond, thank you so much. LL Marketing Consultants just put in a message saying, I think I need a millennial training course. Well, if she's gonna Happy Work Week is gonna give her contact information in just a moment. She could certainly help you with that. He also said fantastic topic. Also want to say a big shout out to Tachi. Also a big shout out to Dr. Lawrence Rashid. Thank you, all of you, for making this conversation another Dr. Vibe Show epic conversation. Before we let Quianna leave, can you give your contact information and also just a high-level overview of what Happy Work Week is all about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you can find me, happyworkweek.com, on social media. I love Instagram and Twitter. However, on all platforms, I'm even on Snapchat. I'm not on there really a lot, but across the board, I'm at Happy Work Week on all social media. And Happy Work Week, I provide coaching solutions that then for employees and leaders that creates direction, also creates confidence, and a precise plan of action for success. My mission and my vision is to really create enjoyable workplaces where the people are able to align their hearts and their minds with the company's mission and values. That's really what I see. I want that to happen. I want people to really enjoy their workplace because we have to work. So that's what I envision. That's what Happy Work Week is all about.
Excellent. Thank you so much to everyone. If you want to touch base with me, again, before I say that, I'd like to say thank everyone who's watching this live or who's going to watch on the replay. Appreciate it, not taken for granted. It's good to be back. I haven't done a live a video conversation a bit, and I miss it, and I got to come back. So I'm back. As Quincy Jones said on one of his albums, I'm back on the block, right? If you want to touch base with me, the three best ways: Twitter at DRVIBESHOW, website address www.thedrvibeshow.com, and email dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. You can also check out my conversations on other platforms like the Good Men Project, one of the most viewed sites in the world for men. I have a new a replay or a different conversation posted there every Tuesday. And just with the Good Men Project, they get the website itself gets 3 million unique visitors a month and 5 million unique page views a month. And the Dr. Vibe Show is the only show that basically has the opportunity to just post whatever I want. And I've been doing it every Tuesday on that site for about 3 years now. You can also catch replays at iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, also WJMS Radio in New York, where I host a few conversations. I don't live in New York, I live in Toronto, but there's conversations that are posted on there too. I'm also a brand ambassador for Cuisine Noir magazine, which is the only online websites dedicated to African Americans in food, wine, and travel. So you have that too. I'm also on iTunes. I forgot about iTunes. So number of places you can catch me, or you can contact me directly. As always, I like to say you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles, and you're a solution for someone's problem. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for stopping by. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. Upcoming on the Dr. Vibe Show. On Saturday, I have 2 conversations, one that I'm a part of and one that I'm being interviewed. 11 o'clock Saturday morning Eastern Time. I'm scheduled to host a manhood conversation with Sat Purusha from Spain. So I'll be in Canada and he'll be in Spain. We have a monthly conversation about men. 12 noon on Saturday afternoon Eastern Time. I'm going to be interviewed for 2 hours at WJMS Radio, talking about how to increase your live stream or your web presence online, and also about live streaming. So that's 2 hours there. And Sunday night, as always, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Do you know what time it is? It's a live audio podcast where Black men give their comments, opinions, and thoughts about current events and news topics. So if you don't like the ball head now, you better jump off quick. So, as always, you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles, and you're a solution for someone's problem. And always remember, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. And thanks again.